Hi, and welcome to the SoCal Yearbook Gala Education Series, designed to inspire, encourage, support, and make your life easier. For the next few weeks, I'll be sharing presentations from the 21 Jumpstart Virtual Journalism Festival. And this is the 8th and 9-part series that features some of the best and brightest minds in scholastic journalism. This week, I'd like to share a video from Bruce Watterson. He's been nicknamed the Yearbook Whisperer, and his presentation is called Eye-Opening Designs. It's all about how times are changing and how we can dive into individual stories and tell the story of the year, from interviews to alternative coverage. This one is inspiring because it shines a light on how we're going to get our 2021 books done in these unpredictable times.
We're going to test our graphic potential today by looking at some ideas for how you can enhance your a yearbook design in 2021. First, I want to thank you because this is a personal adventure. You and I are taking it, and it's a pretty historic time we're living in worldwide. Who would have thought we'd be facing a pandemic for our next school year, or that the current school year has been cut short by one? So it may not be as easy for us to camp out for hours or days or weeks to cover our school activities like we used to. And I'd just like for you to think about the ways you can avoid stress, guarantee a good yearbook, and look for insights into the way your fellow students are feeling during this time. Sometimes we're going to be lucky and an idea will pop up into our heads, and we may be independent in this search, or we may be in a collective with several students. The way we used to handle our activities may not be the same way we're going to handle them in 2021. Nonetheless, we're still after how to take a two-dimensional item like a layout and make it 3 dimensions. Ask yourself, where are we going to take our readers? How are we going to show how different life is? Are we going to have games and athletic events with empty stands? Well, let's focus on a couple of things. The phenomena, which is life in the coronavirus time, places, objects, and moments. And we're after a really honest story, start to finish. So don't assume anything. Don't assume that your readers have been to lots of activities. You're going to take them there. Let's do it in clever graphics. Let's do it in superb photography. Let's talk about how our activities within the school are functioning now. For example, in this slide, would we be that close together, or will we be required to be 3 to 6 feet apart? May or may not have a full school life like this, but it doesn't impede our ability to look inside and outside our four walls of school and look for a way to record the impact. How are we uniting? What's our human spirit going to be like? We've got to do more than simply scratch the surface. We've got to have some deep dives into individual stories. And it'll all come back to the students if we do it well. For example, human interaction inside the school, it's going to change. So how are we helping one another? Interestingly, I predict we're going to look to student friends in the student body to be stringers for our yearbook staff. It's kind of like the newspaper stringers on your school paper or magazine. Those stringers will help you with verbal and visual coverage, and they'll help you transition from season to season. They'll talk about their future. They'll talk about their causes. But specifically, we're going to need to see what they're thinking and feeling and sounding. And when we do it, if we do it well, I believe we're going to see a feeling of unity, a feeling of hope, a feeling of well-being. And if we do it in a simple format, layout, type, or color, the impact's going to be very profound. Take a look at what the Lone Star did in Vista Ridge High. They used simple type, simple messaging, They got to the point, but they did it in student language. It's eloquent, but it's snappy. As you can read some of these on your screen, I want you to think back to the same experiences you're sharing with your fellow students and imagine, I felt like that. I loved it when I got finished with a project and it was completed and my mentor, advisor, teacher gave it the green light. How are we covering our seasons? This is where the stringers are going to come in. You can pack a lot of material into your layout, but I want you to notice how they've allowed an external margin here so that all of your content seems fresh and logical and alive. What's it like as an individual student? How do we cover them? What are their feelings? And look at the way this staff did it. Very interestingly, very handsomely. You're going to wear t-shirts in 2021 that don't look like the t-shirts you've been wearing. How so? Tell us, illustrate for us what kind of opinions, what kind of look there is. What kind of pressure are seniors feeling by the time they get to the end of the school year? This year was an anomaly. This year, in Georgia particularly, we cut school early. The spring semester ended weeks ago, and there will be no graduation per se, ceremonial. What's exhilarating? What are the questions people have? One of the things I love about design is the notion that if you look and really see light school moments, heady school moments, poignant school moments, you can also look with a tinge of humor, just a touch. So if we were going to say, look at the kid in the sophomore class who decided, or freshman class, who decided to do something clever, like buy a shirt and then trade it with the next person and the next person and the next person. He could get to do his, to work his magic, and then let them line up in individual cutout series and be quoted inside a class section. It enlivens it, and it's a light moment in the school situation. So, do the readers feel they can reach out and touch the action, experience the event, empathize? I love the way Foster High School took note in the 2019 yearbook. It was personal. It allowed the book to belong to a very personal individual right from the end sheet. And as they talked about what was inside, they used type, they used color, they used all of the dimensionality required to literally tap into a personal feel. They didn't crowd, they didn't try to cram their ideas together using elements and sometimes opposing ones, but look at the color, look at the imagery, look at the fun. And then you may not consider the pandemic a storm. The one pandemic, how many stories, what kind of effect did you have? In this case, it was the hurricane and its effect on the Houston area. Look at how they simply mined all of the elements of design, but did so in a clever way. They used some spot color, they didn't overdo it. It was really a nice compliment. Sometimes they collaged for impact in their dominant or their center of visual impact, like the one on the right. Sometimes they added sidebars. Look at the connection between the headline package and the dominant image. And then look at the clever way they inserted individual commentary and interview. We're looking for magical moments, and these books did just that. All boys school, cover. This is the way it did look. This may be the way it looks when they come back to school. You're rebooting your thinking, both in design, coverage, copywriting. How so? How are you going to treat it? How are you going to record it? How specific can you be without negating your readers? Show us your look, take us to your place in the world, and let's stress the phenomenon of the life we're living in now. Places, objects, moments. Who are we in 2021? There is something that's going to move each one of us. Show us, tell us, but do it in a way that is physically pleasing, logical, linear. Look at these silos of imaging and look at the way they cantilevered people in cutout into the design and trumpeted them out of the design on the right-hand side. But they kept it simple and they allowed for interview. And they did so here. Notice the change in the background, so it makes it more dynamic. Don't forget about the index. Come on, folks, this offers you an opportunity to further heighten your interview style. Look at the way they used a collage in the art department, with the help of the art department, to take a photograph of an individual and collage the items that personally make up that individual. It's time to grow, it's time to dream, it's time to work, but it's going to take some vision and it's going to take some planning. Designers particularly have to work in lockstep with every member of the staff. The story's going to matter, and the only way we're going to be able to present this story is to lose any kind of self-interest and to make it about a bigger, broader goal. And that goal is, let's keep moving forward. I am such an appreciative person of all of the student journalists in America. I especially appreciate how you have achieved a level of excellence. And I can tell you, it takes a great deal of work to achieve that level of excellence. So, school may be different, but when you get to that end of the year and the book is in your hand and you look at it for the first time, you'll probably be thinking, how did we do that? And if so, we understand you, we applaud you as people who support journalism. We know what kind of task you have, and we laud you. So keep it up. Let's move onward together and have a great 2021.
Hey, Bruce, that was awesome.
You think that's okay?
I think
No,
I think
you're
it's
very
awesome. We did have a couple questions for you. You talk about the fact that things are going to be different. You're predicting the stringers and that type of thing. How I hadn't really thought about. I kind of keep thinking this ends here, but this will change the way we report for the entire next school year too, don't you think?
I think it's going to change the way we report post-pandemonium, pandemonium, pandemic. It's
Pandemic.
pandemonium for sure.
It is. It is. It's all those
Too
things
much,
for sure.
too much self-isolation here. Regardless, I do think it's going to change the way we operate on the college level, on the scholastic level, and in general life. I just don't think we can anticipate what's coming next and what kind of toll we're facing in terms of life expectancy. So we've got to make every moment count. And the yearbook is the perfect chronicle of how people are feeling, reacting, adjusting, and moving forward. The stats just have to do an excellent job of looking and really seeing, of listening and really hearing. And indeed, they can.
Absolutely. And we've heard a lot of schools say that they finished their books before the pandemic really, came about. And so they're sad that they didn't get a chance to cover some of the things in this year's book. But really, I mean, yeah, next year you still have so many opportunities to, we all will remember this moment But next year, how do things change going forward? There's a lot of things that that schools can still cover, and so I think that's a really good point to make. That don't think this is over right now. I know we all want it to be over. We want science to work as fast as possible, but starting to think about the way you can plan for 2021 is great advice.
Well, we have staffers who cannot remain contained inside their yearbook labs. They have to. There has to be an outreach. There has to be an joining with other people in the school situation. Actually, a really kind of an interesting camaraderie that can be generated, where you encourage them, your student body, to be participants and active participants in the gathering of the yearbook content. And people just need to be asked. I think there is such creativity and level of creativity and synergy inside that student body. It shouldn't be any problem to get people to react, to not only be interviewed, but also to do some interviewing, to do some photography. Pull out the cell phone, videotape, pull out the cell phone, take the candid photograph, submit it to the yearbook staff. It can be digital. There doesn't have to be a one-on-one handoff. And I think it's going to make a difference in the product that we actually hold in our hands at the end of the year.